Tonight, making the COVID-19 vaccine mandatory for students.
We want to have as many people vaccinated as is safe and possible.
The province says it is considering Toronto's Board of Health's recommendation to make the vaccine a requirement for all eligible students. Plus,
they literally see your screen, they can control your mouse, they can control your keyboard.
Toronto police is warning the public about a new online scam, how fraudsters are targeting victims, and what to do if you do fall prey. And
it's really going to come down to our final 6 games.
How Jays fans will be kept safe as the team doubles the capacity limit in its stadium, hoping it will give players the boost they need to clinch a playoff spot during their final home stand. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Toronto has hit a new vaccine milestone. Over 80% of eligible residents are now fully vaccinated. But the city's Board of Health meeting today was focused on those not yet eligible to get the vaccine. Young children have the highest rate of COVID-19 in the city, and the board is pushing to make the vaccine mandatory for all eligible students. Now, this as it also begins planning for the administering of shots to those under 12 as soon as the vaccine is approved for the age group. Ali Chiasson reports.
Among the already mandatory vaccines for school-aged children are meningococcal disease, pertussis, chickenpox, diphtheria, tetanus, polio, and MMR. Given the status of the pandemic, should the province add the COVID-19 vaccine to that list? Toronto's Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Eileen Davila, thinks so.
Case rates have increased in the 4 to 11-year-old age group in the most recent 3 weeks.
Toronto's top doctor made a presentation at the Board of Health today, using data that shows how cases are growing rapidly in school-age children.
In the most recent week, this age group had the highest reported case rate at 64, just over 64 per 100,000.
The case rate is officially highest among school-age kids out of all other age groups.
Not especially surprising, though, given that this age group is currently not eligible for vaccination.
The Board of Health is requesting that the province of Ontario requires COVID-19 vaccination for all eligible students, which right now is just kids 12 and up. Minister of Health Christine Elliott is open to it.
We're going to take a look at anything that is going to protect people, including young people. Now we're waiting for finalization on whether the Pfizer vaccine in particular can be used for children age 5 to 11.
Pfizer is still in the process of submitting results from their clinical trials to Health Canada.
We want to have as many people vaccinated as is safe and possible. So we are continuing to look at ways that we can continue with that.
Until that happens, it's something the province and parents can only ponder, whether the COVID-19 vaccine should be mandatory for students.
I would feel a lot better if my child was protected. Forcing people into it and parents who are really against it, I think, is a whole other war that's going to start.
I think it's important. Kids are germ spreaders, and we are the first line of contact with kids as a caregiver. We should do everything we can to protect ourselves and to protect the kids that we work with.
Toronto Public Health is committed to making it happen. There's already a group tasked with planning the rollout of COVID-19 vaccines to children aged 5 to 11 once they get the green light. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Durham Region's Health Department and the local school board have ordered the closure of a school in Curtis, east of Oshawa.
The school had originally been put into outbreak mode on September 16th, but over this recent weekend, cases started to climb, and we were seeing a little more than 10 cases.
The school is Monsignor Leo Cleary Catholic Elementary School. The letter sent from the board says due to the number of staff and students who have been dismissed, the decision was made to close the school to in-person learning. The closure will be in effect for at least 2 weeks, and students will transition to virtual learning. Well, the first weekend of Ontario's vaccine passport system is now in the books, and the province says it went well. It also announced more help is on the way, with more than 100 new health and safety inspectors graduating. But as our Chris Glover reports, some businesses are still bothered by the new rules.
Documents.
Complete with what he calls his border control hat, restaurant owner Shamez Emlani makes light of the new requirement to check proof of vaccination to let people dine inside. But his anger is simmering just below the surface.
It's upsetting for some of us to consider that that restaurants have been scapegoated.
This weekend, anger from anti-vaccine protesters boiled over at the Eaton Center, a place where you don't even need to prove vaccination to get inside.
You can't really stop them. You don't know if they could drop kick you or something.
Nathania Ebebare says she's seen some belligerent anti-vaccine people this weekend, but says she hasn't faced any lines or serious issues getting checked herself.
I guess it's a bit stressful having to bring out your ID every time.
I've heard, secondhand that there's been cases where local police have been called, but my understanding is it's very, very minimal.
Labor Minister Monty McNaughton says he doesn't know how many health and safety violations inspectors found on this first weekend with the new rules, but he says 100 new inspectors are graduating to help on the front lines.
The public out there, please, just treat all of these workers with the respect that they deserve, because they've been through an awful lot in the last 18 or 19 months.
I think it's pretty shocking that the government is taking such a laissez-faire attitude when it comes to the vaccine passports.
This Queen Street restaurant isn't allowing indoor dining until this Wednesday to give a bit more time for people to get familiar with the new rules.
We're all variously freaked out about what's going to happen over the next few weeks and months.
Host Rashid Mohideen says he already deals with patrons frustrated with even pre-existing COVID requirements.
A lot of us on the front lines have been charged with trying to inform the public about things that haven't been communicated effectively by government, which is insane because we're minimum wage workers.
The government also announced today a new free online portal to help workplaces build COVID safety plans.
That's nice, that's dandy that the government keeps on coming up with these guidelines, but none of them are actually concrete. It's all vagary on top of vagary.
The Ontario Chamber of Commerce says despite that frustration that some businesses are expressing around the proof of vaccination requirements, other businesses say they want on the mix. They're saying that their customers are telling them they would feel more comfortable going back to establishments if they also knew that everybody there had been vaccinated. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Colette, we're now in the first full week of fall, but today feeling a bit like summer.
Yeah, and I think there's an excellent indication of when you're in between the seasons or just newly into one. When we have temperatures today in parts of Ontario very summer-like, yet there are also frost advisories starting to show up just a little bit north of the GTA into Algonquin through that region. Huntsville, you've got a risk of some frost tonight. So, yeah, that's kind of that weird area you get into when there are some seasons are kind of battling it out. But look at this, Windsor, 27 degrees, plus humidity on top of that. Toronto, how about 24? Not quite into the warmer air into the Ottawa Valley there, so doesn't mean it can't be a pleasant day, but did have that rain that kind of passed into eastern Ontario, 16 degrees there. And speaking of rain, a little more organized band that's going to be moving here along the north shore of Lake Erie and sort of the west end of Lake Ontario continuing through the overnight hours. So time's a little bit heavier, and then that pushes out by tomorrow morning. For the rush hour, early commuters may still be into it in those areas around Niagara. Elsewhere, though, hey, it's going to be clear with lots of sunshine. Different feel, though, for tomorrow. The winds turn towards the north. The humidity comes down. It's more a fall-like day as we go into Tuesday. 11 tonight, 18 Calda for that high tomorrow afternoon.
Thanks, Colette. The Toronto Blue Jays spoke to the media today after capacity at the Rogers Centre recently increased from 15,000 to 30,000 people. The team says they hope the increase will be the boost they need to clinch a wild card spot, with safety, of course, still top of mind.
We have been working really closely with public health on the best ways to ensure people are complying with the masking requirements. I think we've demonstrated not just on mask protocols, but on every other health and safety protocol that we have in place, that we can do it safely and that we can do it efficiently and effectively. And we've done that not just in Toronto, but in Florida and Buffalo as well this year.
The additional 15,000 fans will be on a separate level, entering from separate entrances than those on the level below. More staff will be brought in to help enforce safety measures. Fans must also be fully vaccinated. Our Jays could use the extra support. They are in the race for a wild card spot. The Yankees are one game ahead of the Jays in the standings, with New York in town for a crucial 3-game series starting tomorrow. From the MLB to the NBA. And for the Toronto Raptors, it's been more than a year and a half since the team played a game here at home. But that will all change next week. The Raptors started training camp today, back in the city where they belong. Greg Ross has more.
It feels really good.
Raptors head coach Nick Nurse was pretty excited about returning to Toronto for training camp, especially after being away from Scotiabank Arena for longer than he would have ever imagined back when the pandemic started.
That's the first time I've walked into my office downstairs in, I don't know, February of 2020, right? Everything was still there, right? Everything was kind of forgot all the stuff I had in there, but it was all still there.
While his belongings were still there was one noticeable absence from training camp. For the first time in a decade, Kyle Lowry is not there.
Kyle is such a natural leader, and his presence definitely felt.
The Raptors will now have to look to other veterans like Pascal Siakam to replace that leadership.
I remember we had a conversation with Masai, and it was me, OG, it was Fred.
The Raptors will also have 14-year veteran Goran Dragic to help, but even he admitted Lowry's shoes will be tough to fill. Despite wearing the number 7 for most of his career, Dragic chose not to wear it with the Raptors because he says that was Lowry's number.
I know that Kyle, he bring a championship ring to this organization, so I do believe that probably his jersey is going to be in the rafters, and that's why I choose number 1.
The Raptors will also be a team of fully vaccinated players by the time the season tips off next month, which is not something all NBA organizations can say. Approximately 10% of the league is still unvaccinated. Those who don't have it won't be able to play in some cities and will be restricted by other public health guidelines.
You can probably imagine the conversations we had internally with people who may have been hesitant at first, and a lot of it was education and supporting them.
It's such a divisive topic right now that I'm happy that our team can just be locked in and not have to have that split of figuring out, what we're going to do with this guy when we travel to this city.
The Raptors will play their first preseason game a week from tonight. They open the regular season here at Scotiabank Arena on October 20th when they host the Washington Wizards. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Metrolinx has taken this unilateral decision of, putting this right in our backyard.
We did look all through the downtown core. Obviously, there's not a lot of land that's available.
Coming up, Metrolinx plans to build a massive rail yard in a Thorncliffe Park neighborhood. We'll tell you why some area residents are fighting to stop the development after the break. Welcome back. Toronto Police is warning the public about a new online scam. They say with many people now working from home, fraudsters are taking advantage, targeting unsuspecting computer users and tricking them in order to gain access to their device. Dahlia Ashry explains how it works.
It might start off as a friendly online chat with a stranger who claims to have an investment opportunity or someone guised as an IT support. But Toronto Police Service is warning it could be a scammer on the other end, and it may wind up defrauding you out of a ton of money.
Making withdrawals or transfers of funds through your financial institutions and taking essentially whatever they want right out of your computer. These scams go from hundreds to thousands of dollars.
It allows a specialist to work on your device.
Police says the latest scam involved fraudsters asking you to download an app called AnyDesk.
Individual downloads a program and gets provided a code, and the code is provided by these fraudsters. And once these codes are the same, they get validated, there's kind of like this virtual handshake that happens.
And that's when Ritesh Kotak, a cybersecurity expert, says the desktop takeover by the scammer begins allowing them to gain full access from anywhere in the world.
They literally see your screen, they can control your mouse. There's so many, they can control your keyboard.
And with the ongoing pandemic, Toronto Police are calling it a crime of opportunity.
Working from home, working remotely from another location, and their livelihood has become their computer. And what better time than to kind of cast a net, if you will.
A lot of us probably end up saving our banking information right in the browser, where we just go to the bank and hit sign in. A lot of the stuff is auto-filled in for us. Same thing with if you're using cryptos and you got digital wallets, and these scammers know this.
He says if you do fall prey to a scam, you should take some immediate steps.
changing all your passwords, notifying your financial institutions, making sure that if there were any programs that were downloaded onto your computer, that you actually end up uninstalling them.
Victims are also encouraged to file a report with their local police. Dahlia Ashry, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto homicide detectives are investigating after a burnt body was found early this morning near the Toronto Zoo. Police say the deceased man was found just after midnight in a field near Old Finch Avenue and Reeser Road. The man is described as 25 to 35 years old, average build with a light brown complexion and short dark hair and facial hair. He was wearing a plain gold band on his left ring finger and a pair of black Air Jordan shoes with red soles. Police are asking for the public's help to identify the man. A teen was rushed to hospital with life-threatening injuries after a shooting in Etobicoke this morning. Police say they were called to the area of Rexdale Boulevard near Kipling around 1 a.m. for multiple reports of a shooting in a banquet hall. Police say there may have been a wedding reception happening at the time. The male victim was transported to a trauma center. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. A community group that's been fighting to get Metrolinx to move its massive proposed rail yard away from its neighborhood now has the backing of its representatives at all three levels of government. But it says it can't get the ear of the very people who could force the transit agency to reconsider the location, the provincial government. As Shannon Martin reports, the community has concerns over why they believe they were targeted.
Since the pandemic hit, this place has been a lifeline for so many, a food bank started by the community for the community. On this day, it's also a meeting place for Amir Sakhera and members of Save Tea Park. For months, they've been waging a fierce fight against Metrolinx. It plans to build a maintenance and storage facility in the heart of their neighborhood.
And majority of this community is working for survival. So to allocate time to fight a giant like Metrolinx isn't really within someone's, they don't have the time.
The rail yard will run along the northern side of Thorncliffe Park, spanning 175,000 square meters, the size of 24 soccer fields.
Our community has been targeted for this train yard, right? If it was to be shifted to another community, perhaps even a higher socioeconomic status community, would they even try to put a train yard in there? Most likely not.
This is a multi-ethnic, multi-racial community where many of the people live on paycheck to paycheck. That is one of the main reasons why, which I feel personally, that Metrolinx has taken this unilateral decision of putting this right in our backyard.
Metrolinx says it needed a large enough plot of land to accommodate dozens of trains in an industrial area, and Thorncliffe Park was the spot.
As part of the early work that we did, we did look all through the downtown core. Obviously, there's not a lot of land that's available. We want to work with the community. We want to understand the community. We want to understand what they're concerned about so that we can help deliver better things for this community as a result of transit coming into the community.
This process has been...
The MPP for the area, Kathleen Wynne, says she's invited Caroline Mulrooney, the minister in charge of the project, to hear residents out.
I don't think the Minister of Transportation really knows what is happening in the community. And if she had come, if she had actually taken the time and engaged, she would have a much better idea.
The community feels its only hope now is to appeal directly to the Premier.
This is our home. I've been here a long time, my whole life, and we love living here, and we want to continue to live here. But taking away this space, even if we didn't have housing, we could use it for our community, for our youth to thrive.
We reached out to both the Premier and the Minister of Transportation. Spokespeople for both directed us to Metrolinx. When we asked again to speak to anyone from the provincial government, we were told they're unavailable. Shannon Martin, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's go back to Colette now with a look at your extended forecast. And Colette, lots of sunshine tomorrow, but it will be feeling a bit cooler.
Yeah, it's going to have a different feel to the air because there won't be as much humidity. So it's going to be more of those comfortable fall days that I know many folks enjoy. I want to kind of show you what's going on here with the overview sort of nationally, even across North America, in fact, because we are into a cooler pattern and a couple of troughs and areas of low pressure that are going to be bringing significant rain into BC. So such a change up from wildfire season, getting into very wet conditions, hot, and even extending into the prairies with some of the temperatures being very much above seasonal. So you would think normally, okay, that'll be tracking to the east and coming towards the lower Great Lakes. Well, we do have an area of high pressure that's kind of blocking things. So that's what keeps us more into a northerly flow and a beautiful week, but with some days where the temperatures will be closer to seasonal or maybe even a day or two here where they might even be a touch below. So some of those rain showers through the overnight hours. At times that band a little heavier with a few embedded thunderstorms there through the Niagara region. 7 a.m. tomorrow, you can see no problems for that commute weather-wise in the GTA. And you should even be drying out. So if you're out at 6 a.m. tomorrow, it could be a little different there. St. Catharines through that region. Otherwise, you'll be doing great into southwestern Ontario. Wednesday as well, looking good. But let me just show you one little feature here. Wants to push in. This is later on Wednesday. So we will see that cloud deck coming back into eastern Ontario and mostly just some fair weather clouds late on Wednesday into the GTA. So don't worry, sunshine again. It'll be another dry one. Overnight tonight, those readings. And we will get into clearing eventually, but still just a few little isolated spots there. Tomorrow looking glorious, highs 20 to 21 degrees. And here you go. Even though we've got that system pushing through, you're not experiencing that. And with clearer skies, Markham, Oshawa, some cooler readings there. Now into Toronto, we'll see single digit for overnight lows before the week is out too. For tomorrow, though, you'll just be enjoying, again, a bit of a change from today because of the northerly breeze and less humidity, but enjoying the sunshine. We get it again there on Wednesday. The temperature heats up a little further. Thursday, Friday, next chance of seeing precipitation at this time looks like it's several days away, Kelda.
Okay, sounds good to me. Thanks so much, Colette. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can get caught up on our website anytime. Head to cbc.ca/Toronto. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.